Hey there, it's your girl, Dr. Avis, and I have a mission for you this week if you choose to accept it. And specifically, this mission is all about you taking the time to develop a key asset that you will use over and over and over again in your business, likely for years, in order to attract clients to you like a magnet. What is this asset? You want to take a moment to develop your very own moniker and money-making one-liner. Now, quickly, let me explain to you what this is and why it's important. Your moniker and money-making one-liner is going to be your quick self-introduction that's going to allow you to be able to let people instantaneously know who you are, who you serve, what you do, and how you help them. It's a great way that you can quickly give yourself a little teeny mini commercial every time you go live, every time you're at a networking event and you're meeting someone new, every time you're even being introduced for a podcast or some other appearance that you might have. You want people to succinctly be able to refer to you in the way that you want to be referred to, and specifically know who you help and how you help them. When you do this often enough, people begin to literally and instantaneously begin to associate you and your brand to the brilliance that you put out into the world. Doesn't that sound great? So let me break down exactly how you do that. Number one, let's work on that moniker. Now, what is a moniker? A moniker is a title that you give yourself. Guess what? Other people are going to start calling you that too, okay? The first rule of branding is that you get to determine what other people think about you. You get to determine that with how you show up in the world. And this is one key element of branding, okay? What are people going to call you and call your professional expertise in terms of what you do? Now, monikers are more creative versions of job titles. So I know that many of you might consider yourself now formally the CEOs of your company, and you can still be called the CEO of your company. But I want you to know, when you are introducing yourself in certain situations, you might want to lean into a moniker, because monikers are more descriptive than those more general job titles. Because, hey, you can be a CEO of anything, and it's not really clear to people who you are and what sort of transformation you provide and how you do it. A moniker that's created well, and especially one that's followed by a money-making one-liner, will be able to unpack all of those mysteries. And when the right people hear it, the right people being those people who need what you have, they're going to lean in and they're going to want to learn more about you. And ultimately, some of them will want to work with you. So let's unpack exactly how to do that. Now, your moniker will consist of two separate parts. One part is your descriptor. The second part is your anchor. Now, descriptor, like the name suggests, is going to, in essence, describe what you do, describe your industry, describe your area of expertise. How can you succinctly describe that in 1 to no more than 3 words? Okay, this is not a full sentence. Okay, this is just a title. Remember that. Okay, it's not a full sentence. It's just a title. So it does need to be super short. The anchor will be, in essence, the title that you give yourself that's related to that descriptor, or maybe a bit of an examination of how you do whatever you are describing. Let me give you 2 examples to really illustrate what I'm talking about here. So in terms of the work that I do now, I call myself a business elevation strategist. The first part of that moniker is business elevation. That's a descriptor that tells people what I do. I help to elevate businesses, right? But the second part is the anchor. How do I do that? I do that by providing strategy, okay? So business elevation strategist. Now, in my past life as a DE&I consultant, I called myself a diversity, equity, and inclusion solutionist, okay? Notice how the moniker was slightly different than the traditional space that I occupied. Yes, technically, I was a DE&I consultant. Yes, I consulted on diversity, equity, inclusion in different companies, but I didn't call myself a DE&I consultant. I created this very specific and custom moniker for myself as a diversity, equity, and inclusion solutionist. Now, why did I do that? Number one, it instantly differentiated me from all of my competition, many of whom were calling themselves consultants. And if there's one thing about marketing that you will learn here, is that the quickest way to obscurity is just to do everything that everybody else is doing, okay? You want to zig when everybody else is zagging. So instead of just calling myself yet another diversity, equity, inclusion consultant, I called myself a solutionist because I understood that the biggest pain point in the industry was the fact that oftentimes companies were investing a lot of money in trainings and work with consultants, but they weren't really experiencing very much change. And so I really wanted to lean into the fact that I didn't just want to come in and consult. I wanted to come in to provide solutions. Thus, the title, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Solutionist. Another example that I want to give you is one of my friends who calls herself the Queen of Green. Now, you might say, oh, that's a little big, all right? That's a little bold, right? Calling herself a queen. But let's deconstruct this through the formula of the moniker that I just shared with you, okay? She's the Queen of Green. Now, she did put the anchor first. Queen is the anchor there, okay? That's the title that she gave herself. But green is the descriptor because that describes the area that she works within, that her business is involved within, and that she works around financial abundance, understanding about financial management and wealth building, right? Therefore, the green that she's referring to is money. All right. So through that title, you know that she must be very good with money if she's calling herself the Queen of Green. I really want to challenge you to think creatively here. How can you develop a title for yourself that is not the same thing that you are typically hearing in your industry? What sort of differentiating factor can you bring to the table? Remember, to think about that, you need to think of it in two very separate components, right? The first one is a descriptor that in some way alludes to what you do or the industry that you're in. And then the anchor needs to refer to your title, which is how you do it or the overall title that you give yourself. So think about this creatively and develop your own moniker. Now, secondly, I want you to develop your own money-making one-liner. So what's that? That is a quick one-liner, literally. This is not a long soliloquy. It's a very quick statement that describes three things, okay? Number one, who you work with. Number two, how you work with them. And number three, the transformation that you provide. Think of this as your little mini elevator speech that allows you to quickly let people know all of those very important things that I just described so that they can know whether or not it makes sense for them to work with you, okay? Or even to learn more about you, right? So let me give you an example of my money-making one-liner. I help coaches and consultants experience huge revenue leaps in their businesses by understanding how to elevate up to and through that high, hard seven-figure ceiling. Now, did you hear all the different parts that I described there? Did you hear who I worked with? Did you hear how I work with them? Did you hear the transformation provided? Yes, you likely did, right? I work with who? Coaches and consultants. How do I work with them? I help them understand how to experience huge revenue leaps in their businesses. And what transformation do they experience? Well, they understand then how to elevate all the way up to and through that high, hard seven-figure ceiling. That is the transformation that we are going for. Does that make sense, guys? I want you to break that down for whatever you do. And that will allow you to succinctly be able to introduce yourself in a powerful way in every situation. Now, to help you really unpack this, I've developed a worksheet that is going to help you break this down. Take a few minutes and work on that. And then when you get it together, I want you to go live in our private Facebook group right here in the Millionaire Coach Collective and introduce yourself to everyone else here. We're all excited to meet our brand new future millionaires, and this is the perfect way for you to introduce yourself. When you do that, you want to put together your moniker and immediately follow it by your money-making one-liner. So it should sound a little something like this. Hi, I'm Dr. Avis, and I'm your business elevation strategist. I help coaches and consultants understand how to make huge revenue leaps in their businesses by elevating all the way up to and through that high, hard seven-figure ceiling. That quick and easy, okay? And I know you can do that. So I'll be taking a look in the Facebook group. I look forward to seeing you guys introduce yourself all week long because it's time to get this party fully started.